Movie Wars.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Who is this?
Oh, hey.
Who is this?
What's
the dude
up?
is here. We are abiding.
Yeah.
Wow, this is the first time we've ever had a wardrobe thing, and I'm digging it. I actually think this should be the future.
I love this.
Just pick a different costume for every movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we got our friend JR back. What's up, buddy?
What's
Hey, what's
up?
going on? I love this movie. I'm really excited to talk with you guys about it.
Oh my God, I know. Don't even get me started. Actually, it's a podcast. I probably should get started.
Yeah.
Probably.
Wow. Well, I was talking to Seth before, and it's really hard. It's easier for me to nail down like my top 50 movies, but like nailing down a top director
Yeah.
is very hard because they typically have such a wider like swath of work.
Yeah.
Like we just got done talking about Tenet, and like you were talking to me about like every Nolan movie is in a different genre.
Yeah.
Just like, and the Coens are very similar. But I do have this list of kind of fluctuating directors, and it depending on what day it is, the Coen Brothers do take that top spot.
Yeah.
I love them. They have so many things I love. Like they have a very American approach to film. First of all, like so many of their movies are just truly American. Like I feel like No Country for Old Men. There's just elements of those that are like very classical. Go back to the 60s, 70s, that era of kind of
Yeah.
American filmmaking. I love that. They also have that Wes Anderson thing, which I think Wes actually pulls more from the Coens than the other way. But there's this humor and there's this kind of hilarity, but wrapped up in it is real pain.
Yeah.
And they deliver real deep messaging, kind of, but packaged in this kind of funny, verbose, and Wes Anderson does that very well as well. If you ever seen the Royal Tenenbaums, hilarious but wrapped in pain.
Yeah.
I love the Royal Tenenbaums, man.
Yeah, so good. Also, I obsess over this idea. When we covered No Country years ago, they have memorable side characters that are write-offs in most movies. Like I remember remember the trailer park manager in No Country for Old Men. What is her famous line? God, what is it? She said, "Ain't here" or whatever. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to. I'm going to bash it, but anyway, she had 45 seconds on the screen, and
Yeah.
I remember her like
Yeah.
verbatim. Like
Yeah.
they make these characters that typically are just passive characters, like waiters, waitresses in other movies. They make them memorable, and
Yeah.
and I found out by researching this movie, they're very intentional about writing dialogue
Oh,
for
absolutely.
side characters.
I mean, they're such dialogue heavy directors in general that it would make sense for them to be like, no, we're gonna make sure that if someone says something, it's gonna be important.
Well, yeah, the first scene in No Country for Old Men, where like most writers probably see that as a chance for Shiger to just kill the guy at the gas station, but no, like that's it sets the tone for that whole movie. So
Oh yeah.
that's it. Maybe that's another one of those types of characters you're talking about.
Yeah, and they decided to load you up with some tension right off the bat instead of satisfying that tension.
Dude, one of the most like anxiety riddled scenes.
Yes. Oh, let's talk about No Country. No, we gotta talk about
We're
the
switching movies.
Yes. Oh, that's a
Change your costume, Seth. You gotta
Yeah.
God damn it.
get your bar flag.
I got a wig. Hold on.
do the bowl cut.
Yeah. And also, and maybe I'm this is a subconscious thing I'm channeling here because Oh Brother Where Art Thou was loosely based on the Odyssey, but
Yeah.
every one of their movies feels like an Odyssey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of a weird, like very simple stories that almost feel like some kind of weird journey. And the Big Lebowski definitely exemplifies that. This kind of weird Odyssey-based story. But lastly, it's kind of crazy that this movie flopped. I mean, it was a $15 million budget. It made $5 million in theaters. And like some of the movies we've covered, it was 5 or 6 years before this all of a sudden became in the zeitgeist. And now it's in the freaking National Congressional Library as a piece of historical American history.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very iconic looking movie. I personally can understand why it wouldn't have hit
Oh God.
in theaters. Look,
Yeah.
when I say what I'm about to say, I'm not saying this is a bad movie because it's not. There for directors like Christopher Nolan or Tarantino or the Coen Brothers, there is going to be a baseline where nothing that they've made is bad, quote unquote. However, to me, at this point in my viewing history with them, this is my least favorite Coen Brothers movie I've ever seen. I do think it's one of the weaker ones in terms of story and plot. It makes me now understand why I hated every guy in college who said it was the greatest movie ever made. But again, I don't think it's a bad movie. It just it clearly resonates with a very particular type of douchebag that I'm just not into. So yeah, I don't know. Like you said, a lot of very memorable characters, some very memorable funny moments. I tended to enjoy it when it went to the extreme. I guess that dream sort of sequence where he sees Julianne Moore and everyone's dancing and everything. That was one of my favorite parts, just because it went 100% into the absurdity of what they were trying to do. But I think they've made significantly better movies.
I think, Seth, you're kind of summing up like that experience of when it first came out for a lot of people.
That's what
too.
I think. Yeah.
Like, cause like how you said, where it did kind of flop. People weren't, I think a lot of it is because it's such a bizarre and weird story, and it kind of goes into all kinds of, and it's pretty long. It's a pretty long movie.
Yeah. It's almost 2 hours.
Yeah. That I think people kind of didn't know what to do with it
Yeah.
when it came out. And I'll tell, for me, the first time I saw it, I can't tell you about, because I don't really exactly remember, because a lot of movies I can tell you where I was when I saw it, right? I saw it in the theater. I saw it.
Pulling the mic a little closer.
Sure, I got you.
There we go.
For a lot of movies, I can tell you exactly where I was when I first saw it. But for this one, I think maybe I was in my college dorm room, or maybe I'd rented it, but I can't exactly, because I've seen it so many times.
Yeah.
So they kind of all just blend together. But yeah, like, it is one of those, I think, that kind of over time just really percolates and marinates for people. And maybe because it's so quotable too. And it's got set pieces and scenes that are really funny and that really stick out. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly one of my favorite movies. But it makes sense that it didn't hit whenever it first came out, because it's a really bizarre movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, I think they've made more bizarre movies that were better done. Burn After Reading is probably one of the most bizarre comedies I've ever watched, but it's one of my favorites by them. It is, and it's weird because in that movie, I still to this day cannot tell you what happened in that movie, but every time I watch it, I have the greatest time while I watch it.
The status and the security of your shit.
Probably
That quote crushes me.
Probably Brad Pitt's best role.
Yeah. Well, to quote Walter, you're out of your element, Seth.
No, I'm
Hell yeah.
right in my element.
I'm just kidding. I mean, obviously, the guy who hates it looks the part. He hates it so much.
I didn't hate it, but just it's my
know.
least favorite of the ones I've seen from them. I think, and now this might explain why I feel this way. I do think True Grit is probably my favorite movie that they've done.
Interesting.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
Did
that's a
love
good one.
Oh Brother Where Art Thou, Raising Arizona, incredible. Burn After Reading. I even really like the Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
What about Fargo?
I haven't seen it, so
Okay.
I'm holding. I have no judgment on that one right now because I just have no idea. But of the ones that I've seen from them, True Grit has definitely been my favorite, and I think it's because their kind of old school way of writing dialogue fits the best in that world. Because something I've noticed about Westerns, a lot of times people won't get the dialogue to sound correct, and I think the reason it resonated with me in that one so well is because they wrote the dialogue the way people would have written letters back then. Because most people aren't saying contractions. They're whatever accent they're in. I am not going to do that. Instead of saying I'm not going to do that, it's like they I don't know. It's written in this very formal way that even with the dumbest person sounding accent, like the most redneck person saying it, it adds this air of sophistication to it that I feel like doesn't work as well in the modern set films.
Sometimes there's a man for a time and place in his generation.
I don't know what you're quoting.
It's from The Big Lebowski.
I watched it 3 hours ago and it just
Are you employed?
It hurt. That one was fun.
Yeah.
No, but to what you're saying, like I that is a really great detail about True Grit that I love too. It reminds me of Deadwood, by the way. Like,
but way more exciting.
But like that kind of detail in True Grit is really cool, and I think with Lebowski, I think there's some of that stuff going on too, to the time frame and everything. I think. I don't know. It's such a fun trip for me whenever I see this movie. So,
well, that's my complaint about it is I don't think it's as appropriate in The Big Lebowski as it was in True Grit. Because you compare the dialogue in this to Burn After Reading, and Burn After Reading feels so casual, as I think it matches the tone of the film better. This is technically a stoner comedy. Like, it's a stoner film, but the dialogue is written as if it's some high class film.
No, I think
It's really strange for me.
this is more of a detective story than it is like a noir movie.
I mean,
than it
definitely,
is.
yeah, 100%.
I think
but,
it's an Odyssey film.
but I'm just saying, subject matter. It's a stoner comedy. You have the Big Lebowski, who is just a big stoner. I mean, literally, I'm this might be one of your randos, but I know that whenever he would show up to a new location, he would always ask the Coens, "Hey, did the dude burn one on the way over?"
Yeah.
And so he's just like always had that in his mind of how he acted. So it's like, yeah. Sure, it hits the noir elements, it hits the detective elements, it hits the mystery elements, but I think at its core, it is a stoner comedy, but the dialogue feels so much more elevated than I feel like a stoner comedy should, that it just, for me, didn't hit the same way.
I like that you bring up Burn After Reading, because I hadn't thought about the comparison before, but I do think these two movies really talk to each other a lot.
Yeah.
In overarching, like in the way that they're made, but also overarching theme of like just an absurdist nonsense. Like earlier, Kyle, you were saying like none of the, like, I don't really understand what happens in Burn After Reading.
That's what I said. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those like, I love it and I watch it every time and it's a great time, but I could not tell you what it's about.
I do think, like, kind of skipping ahead to kind of what the ending of The Big Lebowski is, I feel like that's also the effect that the movie has. Like they've discovered that this person just went out on the lam for a few weeks and now she's back, and like none of this detective work that
the whole movie is a gigantic MacGuffin.
Yeah. So that's what I kind of, one of the things I love about it is that sort of by the end there's like none of this really matters.
Yeah.
Like it kind of is a nihilistic movie in that way. Kind of. I wouldn't say it's a nihilistic movie overall, but like it does touch on that for me.
Yeah.
And I think because I didn't really like Burn After Reading that much. Like I thought it was great, of course, but like, but I feel probably the same way that you do about Lebowski, Seth. Is like, this is fun, this was cool. I feel like they did this better in The Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, it's a cool comparison.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting you said the thing about it being a long comedy. The Coens were very concerned about that, because I read this book. There's a 2-hour audiobook. It's only on Audible. I don't think there's a physical version, but it was written by the assistant who was the Coens' assistant on The Big Lebowski, and he developed a really great relationship with them. And he basically talks about how, like, they were like, our rule is that a comedy cannot be longer than 90 minutes. It can't be. They were really concerned about its runtime, because they literally cut everything, and they went back to recut it, and they like found 4 seconds. You know, they just could not cut. They just didn't think they could cut anything else out.
Oh yeah, and I think for the story they told it in the best way that they could, as short as they could. Like, nothing felt unnecessarily dragged out. Like, definitely, that's a very high compliment I will give it. Is I do think they really cut it down to the shortest it could actually be without feeling too short.
It does feel long though. Like whenever I put it on, I'm just like, wow, this is this long.
The first act, I think, feels the longest. By the time they get halfway through the second act, I think everything really starts to pick up. But again, it's like everything that they do discuss in the first act, you have to have. Like, I don't see another way they could have told the story.
Yeah. This is a top 50 film, just for me to talk about that. It's like on my 37 of, I can't remember exactly, 35 to 45 range, but my only criticism is that I think the dream sequences drag it out. I think those are the only things.
And that's the one thing I loved.
I like them, but I don't think we need 2 of them necessarily. I didn't think and the second one feels a tad long to me. Those were the only things, like, those are my least favorite parts.
There's
of
the bowling one where he's like with Maud.
Where they're all dancing.
Yeah, and then what's the other one?
And then the other one, he's flying with his bowling ball, and I don't know if he's dreaming or hallucinating, but he's chasing.
I think it's an acid flashback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because he was in the Peace Corps, and he's part of the Magnificent Seven. What was it, the Seven? He talks about how before he was a roadie for Metallica, he was
that's right.
He's part of the Magnificent Seven or whatever. It's interesting. I love this. We all encountered this movie in a different way. As the resident, like, obsessed Coen Brothers fan, I put this off for a long time.
Really?
Because I come from, and I think you do too. You're a little younger, not to like ageism you, but I feel like I come from a generation.
Child.
Yeah, you fucking
31-year-old man child, bitch.
This will not stand, man. But I feel like I come from a generation, and I'm still very much like this, where I pick movies based on the box, the cover, and the poster.
Oh, sure.
You know, I remember perusing video stores, and that's why I was so obsessed with horror as a kid, because those were the boxes I was not allowed to watch, but the ones I was obsessed with, like seeing Freddy Krueger's like claw in that 3D box. I was like, why can't I watch that? The box is awesome. And I'd go home and I'd think, oh, the boxes were so cool.
I
like,
do miss 3D textured boxes.
Yes.
Like the steel books are the only thing that comes close to that now.
Yeah. And it's weird because I was thinking about why did I wait? Why did I grew up on Raising Arizona, loved it. No Country for Old Men's top 10 for me. I put this off so long because I looked at the box. I was like, what the fuck is that about?
Yeah.
And I was like, John Goodman? I hate Roseanne. Like, you know, there was just so much. And it was funny because I don't know why. I was like, but I love John Goodman and Raising Arizona.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I put it off. And then I remember putting off. I was so mad at myself because the dialogue, the banter, the relationships, it just hits on every cylinder for me. Like every time Walter screams at Donnie, I'm like, that is right up my alley. Like it's absurd. And one thing I put in my notes that's really important to know about how the Coen Brothers, they really focused on this concept, but I think the reason some of that disconnected kind of feeling dialogue happens is because they coach every actor in most of their movies to live in their own universe and act as if their universe is the most important thing. And
so in other words, be a person.
Well, yeah, but almost to the point of like you are colliding, like your worldview is always going to be in some sort of collision. And that's why it's interesting. They have they call them the nihilist. And what the Big Lebowski, what the dude represents is pacifism.
Yeah.
You know, that is what he embodies is the philosophy of pacifism. Fucking talk, Kyle. Pacifism. But anyway, so this idea that
get you a pacifier.
I know, geez, just shut me up for the rest of this. Hit me with a bowling ball in the face. But almost like there's this like these colliding worldviews. And that's why I think Sam Elliott's character is interesting because he kind of like, I love what he says, like, why do you have to cuss so much?
I love that line.
And it's just so simple, but like that's his worldview kind of like, you know, kind of stepping on his toes. And so everyone kind of feels, especially Julianne Moore's character, like they are in their own almost like gerbil ball.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Well, like so, I'm kind of really intrigued by L.A. Right? They're in L.A. So, and I'm also intrigued by like mid '90s sort of what was how that was. But I don't know if we're
like the third or fourth LA specific movie we've covered.
Yeah, LA's played a big part in this podcast.
Or actually, they're early '90s because I believe was it George Bush Sr. on the TV at the
Yeah.
This
came out in '98, but it was very specifically in the
like
opening
91
narration. It was set in
because he's the one that
90s.
says this aggression
will not stand. Yeah, it's actually a George Bush, not George W. Bush, but
HW.
But so I'm fascinated by movies like that, and it really is kind of an odyssey, right? Because the dude kind of finds himself entering into all of these different social contexts. Where he's like trying to navigate sort of some of the politics, not like, you know, politics, capital P, but like just the power dynamics in these relationships, and in these social arenas, you know, like he has to be interviewed by a police officer. He's like with sort of highfalutin artist types, businessmen, like, you know, the actual Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
And so like when you follow his track in this movie, there's a lot of hilarious to me commentary about how silly it all is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know,
it's definitely it's the Divine Comedy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's almost allegorical as well when you think about going through the different rings of hell. It's like he's almost a commentary on these weird social groups and these power structures and hierarchies.
Yeah, and it's such a cool movie structure.
Yeah,
like and it does hit on those like archetypes of different people that I don't know what's his name, Joseph Campbell kind of talks about in The Hero of a Thousand Faces, right? Like you have just all of these moments with the dude where he kind of like what we talked about in Tenet, where the protagonist gets to be somebody we project ourselves onto.
Yeah.
I think it's even more true with the dude because we get to see him react to like that first scene where he's with the actual Big Lebowski. I forget the guy's name. That plays that character, like Jeffrey Lebowski.
Yeah.
But like he just rips him a
David
new asshole.
Huddleston.
Yeah, thank you. Rips him a new asshole in that scene, and like the dude, I feel like I don't know about you guys, but for me, I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
No,
Are you employed, Mr. Lebowski?
I mean, yeah, how
Unemployed?
ridiculous would it be though for someone dressed up like me to show up at a multimillionaire's house and just be like, "Hey, someone else pissed on my rug because they were looking for you. I need you to give me a new rug."
You know, that's funny because like every time I watch the movie, I'm like totally on the dude's side.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
But now that
absolutely.
you put it in those terms, it's really ridiculous.
Oh, I'm so on the dude side. I want to be the dude. I wish I had. I'm such an anxious, like obsessed with rules person.
Yeah.
I just wish I had the fortitude to not care, and just my rug being the biggest deal in my life
I
that
know.
day.
It's
I
a
love-
nice rug.
Yeah.
I love that he has no concept of social mores, where he just shows up to this guy's house and he's, "Hey man, somebody was pissing on my rug,
And they
and
mentioned
they
you.
thought it was your rug, so they meant to piss on your rug. So can
Yeah.
I get one of your rugs?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so good. Again, there's stuff I like about the movie. It just the sum of the parts didn't hit for me. There were some parts that did and some things I thoroughly enjoyed, but I don't know, for whatever reason the entire combination of all of the things just wasn't working for me.
Seth's gonna love the movie by the end of the podcast.
Yeah, I feel you're I'm not an energy or vibes guy, but if that's a thing, I feel them increasing.
I do.
This couch
No.
this couch is levitating like the rug and the hallucination over here.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that you got a big Lebowski fan. Maybe you got a little Lebowski fan at home. Whatever you got in your
What I
life.
call my penis.
Yeah.
The little Lebowski.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Wow.
I'm like a GPS, like an old GPS that took a wrong turn. Recalibrating. But send this over to a Lebowski friend, to a Coen friend, to a Bridges friend. Thank you for tuning in. We love y'all.
Woo.
The questions.
Here we go.
Am I missing something about bowling? Watching this makes me think, is this the cornerstone of society? And I just didn't know it all along. I mean, this makes bowling look like it's not golf. It's bowling.
definitely a real subculture, man. There's a lot of serious bowlers out there, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, remember, Top Golf is the new bowling alley.
Yeah.
Like bowling legitimately from like the 70s through the early 2000s was like the one place that you go. Either you're just the casual fan and it's somewhere you want to go because they also have an arcade because you're a kid, or you're like, no, I'm very serious about this. I'm going to go and bowl. Like that was a thing. That was a huge thing. My dad was telling me that his mom actually back in the 50s and 60s was like an avid bowler and had her own like balls and everything and would go every single weekend to go bowling. Like that was just the thing to do.
Yeah. And now we just have Snapchat.
Yeah. Snapchat, Top Golf, and Putt Shack.
Well, like, there is something about that. Like, if you want to look into any commentary that this movie might be doing, like, hey, here's like working class, middle class kind of people. Like, here's some stuff here's sort of a peek into like sort of what that life is like. But I don't know, like I don't bowl like that. I've been bowling, of course.
Yeah.
But I have like kind of been in poker leagues before. And so like whenever he gets the call from the president of the bowling association, he's like, "Hey, Walter pulled out a gun during one of the league play games."
Yeah.
Like I could see how I think it is a really nice touch to me. Like that just kind of commenting on that culture and stuff. I don't know. That was a fun scene.
Because it wasn't about the gun.
No, you disrupted league play, bro.
That's a league rule. I don't care that you threaten to shoot somebody. We are clear about the rules. And,
over the line, Smokey. Smokey, by the way, he's another one of those guys that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Like he's one of those characters that like maybe in any other sort of context doesn't really seem significant. But dude, the guy who played Smokey in this is so funny to me.
Yeah.
See that tall guy with the ponytail?
No, you're thinking about the
John
Jesus.
Turturro's character,
Okay.
Jesus.
But the guy who before that scene where like he's kind of like I don't know, he reminds me of somebody who might like listen to I don't know, what's that song, Sister Golden Hair?
I have no fucking
Never
clue.
mind. But he's like really like easy listening 70s music. He's got like a bowling shirt on. He's
like yacht rock.
hey, man. Yeah. Well, maybe. But anyway, like he's got gray hair.
Okay, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Come on, dude, man. Like he's really just like that. But I don't. I love that sort of like they're taking him out of this and then they're putting him into this whole L.A. seedy underbelly shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't even have a rando about this. What's funny about the bowling stuff too, this was in the book, like the movie never shows Walter or the dude bowling. Like they never roll a ball. There is a scene of it though. And the Coens, it was like one of the biggest disagreements. Apparently on set, the Coens do not, like they're brothers, but they do not argue. Like, and when there was only one disagreement they had in front of the crew. And it was very much like, I don't think we should do that. And the other one was like, I think we should. And that's like the tone. It got like they're apparently just like they're literally one mind.
Yeah.
But behind the scenes, they really toiled, and they actually worked with their assistant to make the decision because he also was in the editing room. Like, they felt like this was a game-breaking decision to put the footage of them bowling in the movie because for them, it was not about the actual characters bowling. It was about this almost like old married couple dynamic they have. And so I'm glad they didn't put it in because I think it's perfect. But
yeah, I honestly didn't really notice it that much, but I do like that it's not in there. Well, I think because it also adds to Donnie's bowling the significance of it.
Yeah.
Because I think we see him bowling 3 times.
Yeah.
And the
he's
first
good
two,
at it.
first two, he hits strikes and strikes. And then the last time, he doesn't hit the strike. And then basically in the next scene is when he taps out. He dies.
Yeah.
small illusion. I love that.
Yeah.
Like, which I don't know. And I like how every time Donnie's bowling, it's the beginning of like a new beat in the story, right? The first time is like kind of the very beginning when, dude's trying to figure out, hey, what do I do about my rug? And then we have this hilarious conversation between Walter and the dude that does kind of have social commentary vibes if you want to read into it, but also is just about sort of Walter's whole philosophy, right? This aggression will not stand, man. Like all that stuff. And like, and he really lays it out for the dude. And like that is the heart of this movie, where the relationship between Walter and the dude, right? It drives the whole movie forward. The dude wanting to not be involved, and then Walter believing his belief system is what propels the dude forward because the dude kind of agrees with him on a certain level, but that's just not him. But I wonder now that it just kind of occurs to me, is this a parallel for Joel and Ethan, the way that they approach movies? I don't know. This is totally just speculating, but like
could be.
Welcome to Movie Wars.
Yeah, welcome.
But that dynamic you're talking about between Joel and Ethan kind of having the one mind thing, maybe that's what it's like simmering underneath for these guys, where like there's one who just kind of wants to let things go and one who wants to really push.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
And one of something that speaks to what you say in the book is that like the big question about the movie, about the progression of this movie is does the nature of the dude and Walter's relationship change? And the answer is no.
Yeah.
They have one emotional flare up when they're trying to, they suck at spreading Donnie's ashes.
Yeah.
But that's like the one moment. And like that hug is just the most reluctant, but it's emotional to us because we love these characters.
Yeah.
But to them, it's just the weirdest, awkward hug. But the truth is that their relationship does not change. Like it's the same dynamic. And I like what you said. I don't necessarily think that the dude agrees with Walter. I think it's that he's almost like a broken rudder on his boat. You know what I mean? Like he just propels him forward, whether he likes it or not. And because he's a pacifist, the negative side of being a pacifist is you get pushed around, and you also can't be an objector if you're a pacifist. So he's not gonna object to Walter's forces. He can speak into it, but it doesn't matter. Walter's gonna move him by force.
Yeah.
And that is their relationship.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really well played by these guys.
Yes.
But I think it's these two characters, I think are kind of at the heart of the absurdism of what the movie is too.
Yes.
Like the movie is to me, I'm like, man, this is just silly. Like it's constant juxtapositions of silly things together.
Yep.
Those two guys kind of hold it all together for me.
Well, that's just kind of your opinion, man.
Oh, there's so many great quotes. Even if you don't like this movie, the quotes
so
are
quotable.
infinite.
No, I can see how all those guys in college would not stop quoting it.
Speaking of quotes, next question. Is Donnie truly out of his element? Walter seems to think he's out of his element.
Gosh.
By the way, that's when I was instantly hooked. The first 5 minutes of the movie when John Goodman screaming at Steve Buscemi.
And then having the conversation.
It's so unexpected and out of nowhere. Because like I said, I put this movie off.
Yeah.
And I was like, when he said, "You're out of your element, Donnie," and he's like screaming at him for interrupting, I'm like, I'm in. This is my movie. I'm good.
I mean, I think we're all out of our element in this movie. You know what I mean? Like it's so bizarre, but it's funny because I do think that sometimes Donnie has like weird insights, and he just gets like shouted down by Walter.
Yeah.
And then sometimes he is totally like when he starts when he says, "I am the walrus." Lenin, like, is he's confusing Vladimir Lenin with John Lennon?
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, sometimes yes, sometimes no, but definitely out of his element when he's trying to fight the nihilists.
Yeah. I mean, Donnie's definitely that kind of guy that you're like, why does he still hang out with these guys?
Yeah.
They fucking treat him like shit, and they're still like, how are they best friends?
Squad, man. Yeah, they're squatted up, I think.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of what Steve Buscemi did off script. What I mean by off script is that a lot of his acting was nonverbal.
Yeah.
Go back and watch it. You may have noticed this already, but like when Walter's waving the gun around, each time it cuts back to Walter, Steve Buscemi has moved down the bench farther. He's moving farther and farther away, and it's just little things they did like that with Donnie and his facial. Like the big thing he did was facial expressions, and like he's reacting, but he's also blurred a lot, and he's in the background a lot. But he was purposely almost changing his facial expressions and his body positions in response to Walter. And so in a way, he is almost this, if he's a pacifist and Walter is the aggressor.
Yeah.
Buscemi's almost this, what's the country that we always joke about being neutral?
Switzerland.
Yeah, he's Switzerland.
Yeah.
He's kind of just like, he's just waving kind of based.
He is the libertarians.
Yeah, exactly.
Or he's like the kid with like in the dysfunctional house, you know what I mean? Like,
oh, Larry?
The peacekeeper.
Oh, sorry. You mean I thought you were talking about Larry.
no, not Larry.
You're killing your father, Larry.
See what happens, Larry.
But you meant really.
No, like you talked earlier about the dynamic between Walter and the dude as being like a married couple, and he's kind of like their kid that they don't really raise very well.
Yeah.
Damn, you just nailed that because that's who I am. That's literally who I am. I mean, you just actually, no wonder
That's why you like this movie.
No
Out of
wonder I
your
felt
element.
so guarded with Donnie. I was like, I feel bad for Donnie.
Yeah.
That was amazing, dude. If we had a scoring system, 10 points. Write it down. Last question. Shouldn't we strive for a friend group like the dude Walter and Donnie? I mean, isn't that just what we all...
Yeah,
I
we
think we
should
could've-
all have a friend group where we all just hate fuck each other.
But then go bowling.
Yeah.
Let's try to who's who right now. Just off the top of your head, who's who?
Obviously,
gosh.
I'm
I mean, you're
the
dressed like the dude,
dude.
but
Yeah. No, in this podcast, I'm gonna be Donnie because you guys are gonna have some very strong opinions about this movie. I'll
Yeah.
just be like,
I don't know. I kind of feel like I'm Donnie, kind of just floating in and out, and you guys have this sort of lockdown. You guys do your thing. I'm over here bowling, and then you guys call me in, whatever. So,
Yeah.
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 I want to be the dude, or I feel like I'm the dude, but I want to be Walter. Like, I want to be aggressive.
God.
I wish I was confrontational. Like, I dream about like telling people off and like telling them to go fuck themselves. But I'm like, oh yeah, sure, I'll do that. thing
yeah,
for
it's
you.
funny.
Yeah,
I'm
for free.
probably Walter. I will fight you.
It's funny. I'd like to sometimes think that I have that Walter in me,
Yeah.
but I definitely I don't know. I don't know, man. Like I don't know. I think we're all a little bit of each of these guys too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Randos. A lot of good ones here. This is one of those where I had to limit myself.
Let's go.
The dude is based on a friend of Joel and Ethan Coen's, and they called him the dude.
Nice.
And Jeff Bridges met him one time, and his big takeaway was he noticed he was overweight, and I guess Bridges was more in shape at the time, so he started overeating and let his waistline go on purpose.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
I saw that. I saw him talk about that in the special features one time, and I thought it was a cool choice.
Really great choice.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I do really appreciate when actors take on a character versus just like, oh, I'm going to play a character. I'm like, no. The reason we all love Christian Bale, the reason some of us love Jared Leto is because when they do take a character on, they fully bring on that character. No one else other than the two of them have I seen go to extreme, fat people to like the skinniest they could possibly get. So it's like, yeah, we love watching people become another person.
This movie kicks off a new era for Jeff Bridges too, because like in the 70s and 80s, he was like definitely a leading man, kind of in the same sort of vein as like a Gosling or like Brad Pitt kind of guy.
Yeah,
I
mean, definitely kind of the action hero because especially starting with Tron, like that really was the beginning of him getting into the action movies.
Yeah, and then when this movie happens, like you can see a definite change. I think Blown Away was right before this, I think.
Okay.
And did you guys see Blown Away?
I haven't seen it.
Really, really cool movie. Tommy Lee Jones is the villain, and he's like an Irish guy. But Jeff Bridges is a bomb expert, and he like it's basically the two of them having to kind of. he has to find out where Tommy Lee Jones is putting bombs all across Boston. I think it's the movie set in. I think. But anyway, so like I think Blown Away was right before this. And correct me, I'm sure you will if I'm wrong.
They will.
Yeah. but then it was like Big Lebowski, and then after that, I mean, I don't. I think a lot of his guys were the kind of long hair, bearded guy. He won the Oscar for what's that movie? He won the Oscar for where he played Bad Bob or Bad Bill or something, the country music singer.
God.
Anyway,
I just realized how my depth on Jeff Bridges isn't very good.
Yeah, same.
But after this movie, he definitely kind of dipped into these roles where he's older, he's maybe a little more weathered.
Yeah.
I mean, well, True Grit, right?
Yeah. I mean, he definitely made like an auteur turn in the late 90s after this one.
Now I want to see Blown Away. That sounds incredible.
I watched it when I was like 11 years old. Maybe not a good idea.
So it could have sucked, but
I seem to remember it didn't get a lot of great reviews, but I loved it. I was fascinated by it. I watched it several times when I was a kid.
Nice.
Did it blew away? Okay.
Wow.
Wow,
dude.
Yeah, I'm wonderful. This was my favorite thing I uncovered in the special features. Maybe you saw this if you watched. I think you said something earlier that made me think you watched the special features.
I have not seen any special features.
Because
I literally watched this starting at 10 a.m. today.
Oh, you said something earlier. I thought I was like, that sounds like you watched the special features. Whatever.
Nope.
Because The Rug was so central to the plot of the film, the Coens got a call from Floor Coverings Weekly. It was a magazine about rugs, carpets, going not just modern but history.
I'm a
rugs.
subscriber. I'm familiar.
Oh yeah.
No, not really.
Oh yeah. And
He's a co-author.
and they said that they would send them a copy after the interview was published, but they never got a copy. And I this part was a little blurry, but they said they never saw it out in the wild or anything, and they still to this day don't know if it was a hoax. If someone they knew called and conducted a long 2-hour interview about The Rug and the Big Lebowski and Floor Coverings Weekly.
That's incredible.
I like that. It sounds right that they would be a little salty that they didn't get their issue that they
I hope
supposed
that
to
was
get.
a prank.
And it's just
I hope
after
it's real.
just getting to know the Coens, like not personally, obviously, but just after being a fan and researching them, this feels like a Coen thing.
Yeah.
Like this would happen to them. This would not happen to Martin Scorsese.
It feels like a scene from a Coen Brothers movie. Like, where's my copy of?
Yeah.
Yeah. Scorsese would be like, you want blood on your floor covering?
Yeah.
Is that what you want?
Just chill, Marty.
Coppola would be like, let's go to the Philippines.
Yeah.
And let's spend all my life savings for 3 years to do this interview.
To the jungle. Let's get Adam Driver.
Yeah. And then my main star is going to have a heart attack. Yeah. Oh, Adam Driver. Oh, I see. Ooh, I still haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I haven't either.
I'm worried. I'm saving it for this podcast, but
Megalopolis. What did somebody call it? Mega Crapolis or something?
Probably.
yeah, yeah. I think it was Adam Driver who said that. No, he actually says he loves it, but I think he has to say that.
Possibly.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'm sure it's beautiful. It looks like it's at least a well shot film.
yeah, I'll see it for sure.
Yeah.
And John Turturro was embarrassed of his role as Jesus. And did he call himself Jesus?
Jesus.
Sorry, he actually says Jesus. Sorry, I forgot. And he actually said it took him 4 times to like the movie. He did not really like it or understand it the first 3 times he saw it. But now he thinks it's one of his favorite films. But he didn't.
So maybe
get
that's
it.
what I need to
Just
do. I
like
need to
this
watch
guy.
it 3 more times.
You're gonna love this movie by the end of the podcast. I'm telling you.
I don't think I will.
Which is funny because at this point he is a frequent collaborator.
Well, didn't he make a Jesus movie? Or am I tripping?
I don't know. Maybe.
I'm gonna look it up real quick.
Willem.
There was no DMT in that pen.
Yeah. They actually did think about doing a spinoff for him too.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The Jesus Rolls, 2019.
Oh,
Really?
nice.
He was also in
20% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow.
Oh.
He also starred in Nicholas Winding Refn's second movie after The Pusher, which I can't remember if it was after the whole trilogy, but it was called Fear X.
Oh, okay.
He was in that too.
Nice.
I missed that one.
Yeah, I did too. That's the only Refn movie I haven't seen. Yeah, big fan. It's probably no surprise. Man, why do I write down stuff like I'm a talk show host? This is hilarious. What did I say here? Oh, this is interesting. So this movie is considered to be top 5 for several famous people. People that think this is a top 5 movie for them is Jennifer Lawrence, Jonah Hill, Seth Rogen. Wow, your hero. I don't know how you're going to handle that. You're at an odds with your hero.
I mean, the first 2 people you listed are total douchebags. So I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, well, now Jonah Hill didn't used to be, but man, over the years he's gotten sour. Man, he got skinny and he turned into a major meanie head.
Yeah.
Yeah. John Hawkes, Jane Lynch, Martin Starr, Eva Mendes, Nick Offerman, all as Sam Raimi, Richard Kelly. These are all people that have been documented to say that this is one of their top 5 favorite films.
Interesting.
Seth hates them all
Yeah.
now.
I mean,
Yes.
Seth, you're allowed to be wrong once.
Oh, he's at odds. Yeah, you need to return the marble block over there. Or the,
yeah. I'm bringing your table lighter back, your car lighter.
That's so cool.
Yes. And then lastly, this is wild, and you have to pay a lot of attention to pick up on this, but the dude is in every scene of
Love
the
it.
movie.
Yeah.
Every scene.
Yeah.
The one time you don't think he is, he's in the van. Like you see him through the diner window, but he's in the van. He's technically in, and that's actually hard to achieve. To have
very.
one character in every scene of a movie.
Very hard to achieve.
I'm curious. Was he in the scene where like they're looking at the toe, like the nihilists in the cafe? I don't know.
I think that's the one where he's in the van, by the
okay.
diner, or he's in a car. I can't remember. But
But that would be the one that comes to mind that maybe he wouldn't be in. But,
Yeah.
I'm gonna check it out.
actually, that's what it says right here. This includes the scene where Peter Stormare and the rest of the nihilist crew are ordering pancakes in the diner, where Walter and the dude's van can be seen through the diner window in the
Get out
background.
of here.
Damn,
That's wild.
That's dope. That's really cool.
That's fucking wild.
Yeah. Again, the Coens are incredible directors. They because their scripts are written very meticulously, like the dialogue is very meticulous. I'm not surprised that their setting and pre-production would be as meticulous as that. So that makes a lot of sense.
We just have people have like standards for these great. We just did the Tenet one where people talked about how, or one of the conversations was how people didn't like Tenet.
Yeah.
But like the standard that we have for these great filmmakers, I think, is just different.
Yeah.
You know, because like, you know, some rando makes this movie, The Big Lebowski. It's probably really good, and people are like, "Ooh, who's the next? This guy's the next great, or this director's the next great director." You know, like it's or like, you know, but like, you know, when this movie came out, not super well received.
Yeah.
I don't know how did it do critically? Like,
I did not do well.
No,
it
really?
was mediocre at best. Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah, it wasn't, and it flopped, and critics didn't love it.
I mean, from what I've heard about Fargo, which came out before this, right?
yeah, a couple movies.
Fargo came out before this. Raising Arizona came out before this. I'm not surprised that this one just was off for everybody.
Yeah.
Because even though I haven't seen Fargo, I've been told it's their best one.
They had a big flop in between though. Fargo, so they were riding high. Like Fargo was a movie that people like were telling them not to make, and it ended up being huge.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find it though. The flop they had before, I can't remember. It was a big flop. Oh, the Hudsucker Proxy. Oh, Barton Fink.
Oh, okay.
Barton Fink
was a flop.
Yeah.
Dude, it's incredible.
Yeah.
You know what I found very interesting? I don't know if any of y'all listened to Josh Brolin's interview with Joe Rogan.
Oh, it was
recently.
incredible.
Great interview. I didn't realize that everyone thought it was gonna be like a big risk for him to be in No Country for Old Men.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, I didn't realize that there had been like 2 major flops between, I think, Burn After Reading and No Country for Old Men. That everyone looked at it as kind of a bad idea for people to get involved with that one, because he said no one on set thought it was going to be anything special. And so I wonder if that, like, you have the Coens, they do an incredible movie, and then the next 2 are just kind of meh, because everyone is like hoping that it's another Raising Arizona, another Fargo, another Burn After Reading, another whatever. And then it's like 2 movies later, they're just like, we'll just treat it casually again. And then boom, it blows up.
That's honestly wild to me, because given the source material for that movie and how it's, you know, Cormac McCarthy, one of the great American novelists to live, and it's one of his best books, you know, that's crazy to think about how, that's not going to, I don't know. For me, there was a lot of hype that I experienced with that movie. So
Shall we bowl?
Let's do it.
Shall we abide?
Yeah. Yeah, are those the...
No, well, yeah, so for good, for positive, on the war score, the dude abides.
Okay.
That's our positive. I almost said nice marmot. I like that almost better, but I feel like we have to go to the classic here.
Please tell me the negative is pissing on a rug.
No, it's actually you're out of your element, Donnie.
All right, fine.
at least your house broken.
Yeah. I just love the "you're out of your element, Donnie" quote way too much.
No, that's fair.
Did you get new ink, bro? That's nice. I love that.
This one and this one.
That's great.
Yeah. That was his Christmas.
Shout out Brother Son Tattoos on Instagram, Avery Miller.
Please.
Good buddy of mine.
Please sponsor the pod. I'm just kidding.
I think we would need to sponsor him.
A tattoo shop. Top bill cast. And before I get into it, I was curious about this. Because they are such frequent collaborators, I wanted to document their frequent collaborations. Frances McDormand 8 times, John Goodman 6 times, Steve Buscemi 5 times, George Clooney 4, Richard Jenkins 3, Tilda Swinton twice, Holly Hunter twice, and John Polito 3 times. That's crazy. My favorite role from him is in The Crow, but he's nothing like that in any of these movies. But anyway, they love to
How many
collaborate.
times was Jeff Bridges in Coen movies?
Twice.
Okay, only twice. Okay.
Yep, only 2. I think this and True Grit.
Yeah, interesting. I would have thought he would have been in more.
So yeah, but anyway, Jeff Bridges and John Goodman.
I think they both did a really good job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I abide on this one as the dude.
As the dude, you're abiding.
Yeah.
Absolutely iconic performances from
Yeah.
both. I abide.
Yep, I do too. I agree. And as much as I love Bridges here, I love Goodman more. The
Yeah,
lines.
no, I agree with that.
One of the things I loved learning in research is that Goodman was very self-critical. He had just gotten wrapped up Roseanne. Roseanne wrapped up in '97, I think.
Okay.
And even though he was a good actor and the Coens had liked collaborating with him before, he had a lot of insecurity. He felt like maybe he had fallen into the sitcom actor thing.
Yeah, that was a big thing back then. If you got stuck on TV, you would get stuck on TV.
Yeah.
You could not get into film if you were too big on TV.
Yeah. And so he was quoted saying, and this is in the book, he was quoted saying to the Coens and to his fellow actors that he felt like he just kept ruining scenes,
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
which is hilarious because every scene that I love is where he's being Walter and screaming.
Underrated Goodman performance. It was The Babe. I don't know if you saw it, but he did a biopic of Babe Ruth.
Wow. I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
I did hear about it, but
For me, his most underrated performance is Speed Racer.
He was in Speed Racer?
He's the dad in Speed Racer. He's so good.
Oh, I missed Speed.
It
I
is
didn't
one of
see
the. Oh man, it's one of my favorite movies. I think.
Oh,
it's
wow.
my number 2 or 3. Like it's insane.
Of all movies?
Of all movies, yeah,
Speed Racer.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Wachowskis' Speed Racer.
Wow, okay,
we're
I'll
going to
check it
cover it
out.
at some point.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
incredible.
But yeah, I'll put the bow on it. One last thing I'll say is like just I love triangular dynamics in films where like there's a group of 3 people and
Yeah.
Yeah,
they just the sending and the returning, if you want to put a tennis term to it, like just the volley, it's just this is expert level here.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
1-0, we are abiding. Hopefully no nihilism creeps in. I want to expand this because it's hard to see. There's so many. I mean, how can you just name a few supporting?
Yeah, for real. It's like
Actors in
every
this
single
one.
person in this
Huge
movie
cast.
is a
Yeah.
staunch professional.
And I honestly, based on my research, like it feels like these are the people the Coens actually like writing more. They actually like the side characters more than their Julianne Moore, Steve Buscemi. God, I love Steve Buscemi.
Yeah.
David Huddleston as the Big Lebowski, technically the Big Lebowski.
yeah.
Philip Seymour Hoffman, R.I.P. Miss you as Brant. Tara Reid making
Which is fun for us because we covered what was it? The Crow,
Wicked Prayer.
And he sent me a text the other day. He was just like, "How did Tara Reid go from being in The Big Lebowski to Crow, Wicked Prayer in under 10 years?" And I was like, "You got to remember, American Pie happened in between those."
Yes.
Like that kind of just set her aside as okay. We'll put your tits on and we'll see what you can do with anything other than that. But I think it really pigeonholed her, unfortunately.
Yeah. Big call out. You have to go down the list, though. Flea, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, as Nihilist number 2. Peter Stormare, Nihilist number 1. God, Flea just pops up in movies all
He
the time.
does.
Uli Coco.
And then you got to go all the way down. John Turturro as Jesus.
Nobody fucks with the Jesus.
I'm gonna let you go first on this one.
What am I doing?
This is supporting cast.
Oh, I have everybody's awesome. I don't know, like I think Jesus is one of the probably the most like quoted guys, and one that sticks out the most. But from every scene has one of these characters that you were talking about too. Who was it? The cab driver.
Yep.
The cab driver scene. Who was that? Dave Attell.
No, God,
Was he
I
in this?
I had that name. Dom, what's his name? Dom, hold on, I'll expand. Dom Irera.
Dom Herrera.
Oh,
Yes. Yeah. I get those two confused a lot. But like, yeah, like, I don't know what else to
The
say.
cop,
man. Like,
the cop in the junkyard.
the cop in the junkyard, the cop at the Venice Beach cop, the one that
Yeah,
that
he's
throws
like-
the mug at his
He's like,
face.
do you do like a investigation, man? And he's like, yeah, yeah. oh, he's like, yeah, we get a whole team together.
Yeah.
And he's just chuckling.
Leads.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Just impeccable cast, I think. Oh, I also did like Tara Reid in this.
Yeah.
Like, I think she really hits the mark with what she needs to do in the movie. Okay, and I do want to talk about Philip Seymour Hoffman. I was trying to look up earlier. So he does this movie, and I think it's right around what year is this movie?
98.
98. So like he's done Magnolia at this or around this time. Like he has a run here, dude.
Yeah.
Where like he does Along Came Polly a couple years after this, I think. Like he
was Doubt around this time.
Doubt is a couple years later.
Okay.
Yeah, he does Magnolia the year after.
Okay.
And like so you go from and I think he does another.
And he did
Coen
Boogie
Brothers.
Nights the year before.
That's the movie I was
Yeah.
thinking about.
the year before this.
Before
he
this,
had a solid. I mean,
this is a crazy run, dude.
It is.
that 4 or 5 year period is really what solidified.
Twister
him.
is in there somewhere.
Talented
Yeah.
Mr. Ripley.
Jesus.
In the same year as Magnolia.
Yeah.
Then he got to work, and then Almost Famous in 2000, and then Punch Drunk Love in 2002.
banger,
Dear
banger,
God.
banger,
Just
dude.
banger after
Dude.
banger.
I forgot that run.
Yeah.
Yeah, Punch Drunk, like, and it's wild because like not many of these are like leading roles or like even like high level secondary. Like a lot of them are just like character little pieces. But
Yeah.
he sticks out in.
I mean, that's kind of when he was in his element, though, was when he wasn't necessarily carrying the movie, so he was able to just go balls to the wall with whatever character he was playing.
And dude, he's so fucking funny as Brent.
Yeah.
Like the
Collegiate.
Yeah.
He's like an Ivy League guy that couldn't quite find a job at his dad's investment firm. So the next best thing was he's like now this is how I envision him.
Yeah.
So he's the assistant to one of his dad's rich buddies, but
Yeah.
making the same salary as an investment banker.
One of my favorite lines is when he says about the Little Lebowski Urban Achievers, where he says they're for kids who don't have the necessary means for an education. I don't know if that line is written that way or if he just stumbled it or if it was a choice, but I just love the way it works there. And then like right later, whenever there's the scene with Bunny, and she says, "I'll suck your cock for $1,000."
Yeah.
And he's
Just,
like,
Yeah.
so funny, dude.
Yeah. On the Tara Reid thing, it's wild. The assistant who wrote the book said that Heather Graham he thought that she had locked down that role.
Oh,
wow.
And she talked about how striking she was walking through the office, the Coen Brothers office. But what happened is they wanted Tara Reid because Tara Reid looked Midwestern, which meant she looked out of place. They wanted her to
that
feel
makes
like
sense.
someone, like an outsider who only penetrated this world through being married to a rich guy or
That
being
makes
being
sense.
with a rich guy.
And
Yeah.
Bunny is Midwestern, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And-
because he's got the picture
Yeah.
of the farm in Kansas or whatever.
And who looks more California than Heather Graham?
Nobody.
So, yeah. But you're abiding.
Absolutely, yeah.
I unfortunately am gonna have to go out of the element here. Here's the thing: a lot of great actors. I just watched this movie this morning, and I'd say only 3 or 4 of them were truly memorable for me, and mostly because the actors are the ones that I love. Like Steve Buscemi's character, wonderful, love him. Julianne Moore's character, fantastic, love her. Tara Reid, she's fine, but I mean, again, doesn't really stand out. Philip Seymour Hoffman, while he does a great job, his character doesn't really stand out to me that much. The one Russian guy that, like, what was his name? He's one of the nihilists.
Oh, Peter Stormare?
Yeah, love him so much. He's one of my favorite actors, even though I don't fucking know his name. But he stands out to me just because of who he is as an actor, though. So it's like, I don't know, compared to other Coen Brothers movies, I just don't feel like most of these side characters stood out as well as they have in other movies. So for me, I'm going to have to say that I go out of my element here.
I think those are, I actually agree with you. I am actually still going to give it a abides. This is not the strongest lot of side characters.
Yeah.
But
they're still, and that is not to say that they're not well done. They are still well done, but within the scale of, you know, if the 1 to 10 on the Coen scale really puts it in like a 7 to 10 on a normal scale, this would be down at a 7. It's still good, but it's not the best that they've done.
The most annoying to me was Julianne Moore at first. My first watch ever, I did not like her character. But then after doing some research, I kind of realized what she was going for, and she pulls it off really well.
Oh, yeah.
But I did not like her character as much. In fact, I thought she was annoying. But then I realized that, like, she was playing a person that was almost pretending to be affluent. Like, she was almost forcing this because she felt like she had to be dignified, like she forced this feminism thing, and like it was all just a caricature.
Faking pretentiousness.
Yeah. Which is funny. She's an actress, but she's faking. Yeah, it's anyway. I like that now, but yeah, I don't think it's the strongest lot. I still give it a abides personally. But
shout out to David Wenham in that part, by the way, the guy who plays the guy who just
giggling.
laughed. Yeah.
Wait, Faramir?
Yeah, Faramir.
I didn't even realize that was him. Oh, that's fantastic.
That's the thing, man. You got to watch it again, dude. You got to watch it.
They nailed that artist thing.
Because I do think, because I feel like I probably had a similar reaction, Seth, when I first watched it. It was like, just like it wasn't all the way there, but like this is definitely a repeat viewing movie.
So here's the thing for me with movies like this, I wouldn't have watched it now without the podcast. If I was going to watch it on my own accord, I would have waited until someone like you or someone like you was like, oh, let's watch The Big Lebowski. Because for me, if I watch it with someone who already loves it, it will give me the best chance of loving it.
That's cool.
That's
watching it on my own, it just didn't hit for me. So maybe if I watch it again with someone who does love it, and as we're watching, they can point out the things that they've noticed, it might be, give me more reason to enjoy it. But for now, it just, it wasn't my thing.
Sure. I do think it's also one that like you can kind of put on now that you've seen it.
Yeah.
Especially what after you've seen The Big Lebowski, it's one that you can just kind of put on and have on.
Yeah.
Tarantino talks about this with Pulp Fiction. Like earlier on when he was making it, he had in mind. He talks about this in an interview where I want to make a movie where people can just put it on and it's just there.
Yeah.
Not like the Netflix thing.
Not like a background movie, but yeah.
But like, and I think Lebowski, like, dude, it had a whole run on like TBS and TNT. I think, in the like early 2000s, where it would just be on. An edited version of this would be on.
Yeah,
that was hilarious. Can you look up what the edit was when in that scene where they go to the screenwriter's house and he says, "This is what happens when you fuck a stranger in the ass, Larry."
Oh yeah, I do. That was a big deal because the Coens thought, I wrote it down, but I can't remember. But the Coens thought the thing that was put on TV was funnier.
Oh, really?
They were like, why didn't we write that? That was their response.
Oh, I love that. I love the little happy accidents that sometimes happen.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Gotta try to find it.
Yeah. Let me know when you do.
I'm going to find it.
I remember that.
Here it is. This is what happens. You see what happens when you find a stranger in the Alps?
Yeah. Yeah. They were like, why?
That's funny.
They were like, why didn't we write that?
Yeah.
That is actually funnier.
Yeah. All right, it's 2-0 with some great commentary here. We are writing Joel and Ethan Coen.
Again, this just isn't their strongest for me. Like, yeah, it's got some good quotes, but as we've talked about with Napoleon Dynamite, having great quotes doesn't make it a good movie. And for me, it just, again, not saying I hated it, but it's just, it's one of their weakest scripts in my opinion. So I'm going to have to go out of my element again.
I think they were really this is another high concept thing, like we talked about with Tenet. Mm-hmm. Like earlier, I think, I don't know if it was in the recording or not, we were talking about what genre this movie is, like stoner comedy.
Yeah.
I think they've said like this is they were trying to do a Raymond Chandler detective story.
Yeah.
But instead of like a hard-boiled detective, it was this stoner guy dude.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is really the ironic part that makes it so funny to me. But like. It's a really cool script that really wants to be revisited a lot. Mm-hmm. And I think it's great. I definitely would abide this one.
Yeah, I abide, and this is probably the strongest part for me is I'm sensing, you watch like The Matrix and there's a lot of philosophy in there, but you're like, man, which one?
Yeah.
To me, the philosophy is so clear with these characters. Like and that I say to someone that like I thought my life was I thought I was gonna be a philosophy professor for like 4 minutes. But I
can see it.
Yeah,
you got the goatee for it.
I got a turtleneck somewhere.
You got the pretentiousness for it.
Yeah. I got
you have the elbow patches on a blazer.
That's right. I got a face for philosophy radio.
There you go.
I love philosophy, and it's actually the original thing that got me into movies is when I started noticing the background,
mm-hmm.
To what movies were about, and you start sensing themes, and you could connect those. That's why I originally got addicted to movies, and I do actually have The Matrix to thank for that. That was the first movie. I was like, whoa, there's philosophy in here.
Yeah.
And I sense the philosophies. I love the characters. To me, the universe thing, when like the characters living in their own universe, what that means to me is they're embodying a certain philosophy or an archetype of a type of person or a type of belief system. And the characters are bouncing off each other. And I love how firm they are. Walter is so firmly aggressive.
Mhm.
The dude is so firmly pacifist. And they're not, no one's trying to change. Like no one is changing. No one started here and got better, or no one started here and got worse.
Yeah.
They're just atoms.
Yeah.
They're equal and they're bouncing. Like they're not equal necessarily what their beliefs are, but they're equally invested in their belief systems.
That's beautiful.
But see, that's kind of a problem for me. Is like, sure, if one character, like we were talking about in Tenet, if one character is meant to be that foil character that doesn't really do any changing throughout the whole thing, sure, that's a choice. But when everyone does it, it's just it's hard for me to get into it. Because even in Burn After Reading, like the fact that at the very end J.K. Simmons is literally just like, so what did we learn? What did we learn in this whole shit show of a situation? Like it's them still looking for something to change from.
Sure.
And this, to me, it makes it weaker when not a single character has any type of change.
I guess you could say Donnie died. That's a big change.
Sure, but his
that'll change your insurance rate.
But his mentality didn't change.
Yeah, I know. That's great.
Other than just being off now.
Okay. Yeah, being completely in the ground. No, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm struggling to think of a character that has any change. I don't see that as necessarily a negative thing for this movie, but in general, like if I'm thinking about movies that impact me, most of the time there's some kind of dynamic with a character, usually the protagonist, but like that just kind of teaches us something. But I think maybe that is also part of this movie is like it's really I think it is a philosophical treatise as much as it is anything. And it does try to point out how these different worldviews embodied in these characters kind of just exist.
Yeah.
And we just kind of live this is kind of the world we live in. At least, I don't know if maybe over time it's changed a little bit, but I don't know, man. I feel like this is one of those timeless movies that continues to do what it tried to do when it came out.
Yeah.
Like it tries to say, hey, this world is fucking silly.
Yeah.
And you're going to encounter all kinds of silly people. And it's kind of up to you how you want to deal with it. The dude deals with it by just trying to solve this mystery and get some money out of it and just kind of continuing to live his life.
Get that rug.
Get the rug.
Yeah.
and when it's all done, he wants to go back to bowling.
We need to officially change it from get that bread to get that rug.
Get that rug. 3-0. We are with much ado at the expense of Seth here, who is dressed like the dude. No, I kid.
But
no.
he's acting like the Big Lebowski.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Get a job, sir.
Are you employed?
The bum's lost. The bum's lost. I love that. I want someone to scream that at my funeral. The bum's lost.
I got you.
Yeah, you got me. I
got you,
actually have assignments for all my friends at my funeral. I know that's morbid, but I'm going first. And when I do, I want some good shit to be said.
There we go.
Yeah, sure.
I got you.
You pick the playlist too. You got a good record collection.
I'm down.
I guess I don't understand what they do at funerals. If I think there's a playlist,
Nothing but straight Rebecca Black.
don't hire that DJ. I hate him. Directing, Joel and Ethan Coen.
Just kidding. They were awesome.
Yeah. All the things you said you liked, but all of a sudden the directing is bad.
They wrote it well. They picked great people, but they sucked.
Yeah, horrible.
No, definitely just kidding. I mean, it's interesting we just did the Tenet show, so I keep coming back to that one and talking about process. But like I just felt like everything I've seen about how they made this movie, it's so intricate and detailed, and it seems like they made the movie they wanted to make.
Yeah.
So I have nothing bad to say about what they did.
Despite me feeling like the script is weaker on their part, I still think that they took what they had and what they made, and then they went and did it 100%. So no, I'm going to say abides on this one, because I do think this was a genuine passion project for them. I do think that even though I disagree with some of the choices they made some very clear and purposeful choices, and it clearly has resonated with a large number of people over the years. So no, I'm going to give it to them. I'm going to definitely say that I abide on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I'll go abides. I this is what draws me to them. They have such a unique flavor. You know, I would put them in the same camp as Tarantino, as directors that have a signature that can bounce between genres and sets of actors and still so distinct. Wes Anderson has this. It's just so distinctly Coen's.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me how they actually are pretty good at threading the same language and the same way they write dialogue. This is present in No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
With Josh Brolin and Woody Harrelson and Harvey Bardem. Like, I just love that they're able to copy and paste this approach to dialogue to different movies.
Yeah.
And No Country is a very serious film.
Yeah.
It's like but it's still a little silly.
Yeah.
There are moments where it feels like a comedic moment.
I would almost put it as an absurdist drama instead of an absurdist comedy.
Yeah.
This definitely is more of an absurdist comedy.
It is.
But and I feel like that's kind of their take on everything, is whatever they're doing, they're trying to bring out the absurdity of life.
Yeah.
So I think they accomplished that with this.
So you land on a bite on this one?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Look at you. Give him a compliment for once.
I gave them one on the first one, you asshole.
I love you. I'm kidding with you. I love it. I love it when we have differences.
Seth has Coen Brothers toilet paper in the bathroom right now.
Yeah. Yeah. One for Joel, one for Ethan.
Maybe not.
That's
I can
hysterical.
neither confirm nor deny.
That's hilarious.
I do have Hello Kitty toilet paper somewhere in this house.
Oh my God.
Wow, that was unprompted. Nobody asked about that.
I don't know anybody that feels that strongly about Hello
That was
Kitty.
a gift from my tattoo artist. So
That's
Do not sponsor the podcast. All right, it is 4-0. We are cooking with gas here. Yes. And God, by the way, I don't know why I just had this image, but I love it when his landlord's asking him to come to his dance and then ask him for the rent. That's just, yeah, I love that. What's in front of us? Cinematography, production, design, sound, costumes, and editing.
yeah, I mean, the entire world felt very lived in. It felt very like it was something that's happening. No matter where you were, whether you were in the Big Lebowski's gigantic mansion or whether you were in the dude's shitty apartment, like no matter what, it felt real. It felt like you were there, even with the absurdist elements to it. So no, I give them an abides on this.
Yeah, something I've been doing lately is like watching old sitcoms from the 90s and going to YouTube and watching. They have like 1 hour of just commercials from the 90s. And I've just been so nostalgic lately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And watching this movie brought me back, even though I never went to LA in the 90s or anything. It just kind of brought me back to a time, you know, and it kind of reconnected with like, you know, with just the feelings of being alive those years. And so I don't know, I'm sure that's part of what they were trying to do, but like, but for me, that's something that resonates now, watching it again. And also just want to talk about the song, the Bob Dylan song, "The Man in Me," kind of opened me up to a new sort of version of Bob Dylan.
Nice.
You know, I'm kind of into music, I guess, but like, you know, I'd known the earlier Bob Dylan, but like that I'd never heard that song until this movie. So, yeah, I mean, I would abide with everything as far as this category goes.
Yeah, that song is killer. The whole soundtrack's killer. I love that. It's funny. I was just thinking, I was like, how true is this? That everyone has a uniform.
Yeah.
Like Walter, he has variances. I think in one scene he's wearing cargo shorts and then he wears cargo pants. But he has the sunglasses, those Hunter S. Thompson sunglasses, and they're variations, but they're variations of a uniform.
Yeah.
And Donnie's always wearing his bowling shirt, and even Maude, when she shows up at his apartment, is wearing a robe. Even there, so like I'm sure she wears clothes elsewhere, but on screen her character's always wearing a robe.
She's either naked or wearing a robe.
Yeah, and I just love that. I love that because it's like all of a sudden like they're very distinct, you know, and so it's part of that universe thing. So I love it.
Yeah, it adds to the allegorical quality that we were talking about with the philosophy thing. Like they stand for these ideas.
Yeah,
they embody, like, you know, like the dude embodies pacifism. I don't, you know, like they embody this idea that they stand for.
Yeah. All right, 5-. What did you do?
Oh, I abide.
You abide. 5-0 in this next category. The Big Lebowski. Big deal. Here we are, 26 years later. This movie took 5 or 6 years to catch on. It's now in the National Library of Congress as a artifact of American filmmaking history. Is it worth the hype all these years later? Does it deserve that level?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go out of my element on this one.
Here we go.
Again, not bad. Like I'm not
Mhm.
saying it's a bad movie, but it's definitely one of those that not only was it the people that hyped it up, but just the amount of hype I've had from everyone who I've talked to who likes it. I'm like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think it's this revolutionary film, especially compared to some of the other movies they've made.
Right.
I understand how visually it's become iconic. But no, I don't think it's worth the hype. I'm perfectly fine watching it the one time and probably never watching it again. Like, yeah, I personally, again, I would if you wanted to, just to point things out to me and be like, oh, this, whatever. But am I going to sit down and choose to watch it by myself? Almost definitely not.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Shock. Awe.
No. I mean, I would say so. But I guess I'm thinking about like hype. Like, the hype has, as you said, it kind of has built over time. It wasn't really a hyped movie, I don't think, when it came out, right?
Right. It wasn't.
And so I would say yes, I would abide the hype, but I would also say that it's kind of wild what it has become, because I mean, I've been trying to go to Lebowski Fest for like the last several years. I haven't been able to make it out there, but the fact that we have a Lebowski Fest sort of subculture, that Lebowski Fest happens in several cities, across the country. That's kind of wild to me.
Yeah.
Cool and wonderful, and I definitely want to go. But it is. I don't know that's that sort of like franchise element to this movie is something that they had anticipated or maybe wanted.
They didn't. They don't love this movie as much as a lot of their other movies. They don't have the same. They talk about. They don't have the same love or recollection of this. It's not that they hate it. It's just compared to some of the other stuff they make, this is not in their.
Good. So I agree with the directors.
Yeah.
So I'm correct in my opinion, y'all.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Excuse me. Sorry. It does feel like people have definitely latched onto this and made it bigger than maybe anticipated or intended. I don't know. That said, I think it's hilarious and cool that people want to do that, and so I'm a willing participant in that too. So it is kind of weird though to me.
Yeah. See, it's weird for me in the opposite direction where I'm just like, how the fuck did this turn into having its own Comic-Con? Basically, like why?
Well, I think it's because of that philosophical allegory that we were talking about, the element to it, because people really fucking identify with either being the dude or like wanting to be the dude or having that element as part of them. Like they see him as like, wow, this is somebody that is a part of me.
Yeah, and all the people that I know who do that are the worst people I know.
Wow.
Like I said, just every asshole in college who was just like, oh, Big Lebowski's my favorite movie ever.
But I mean,
like, we were talking about this. It's like the only people worse than them are the people who think Boondock Saints is the greatest movie ever.
Yeah.
I love the Boondock Saints.
I enjoyed it too. I think it's a great movie, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, it's the greatest thing ever made.
It was a thing. It was hyped up.
It was huge. I think we all, at some point, want to feel like we can just remove ourselves from the rat race and just kind of be our own person and just go, whatever bowling is for us, just go do that.
Yeah.
And like not want to get mixed up into all the bullshit. I think a lot of people, that really resonates with a lot of people.
Sure.
And so I think maybe that's a big part of it. Also, people love smoke weed, and like it's a great, Lebowski Fest is a great reason to go smoke weed with a bunch of hilarious people. So
Fair.
Yeah. So you go.
Yeah, I abide.
You abide.
But it is a little kind of
Yeah. I toiled over. This is my own category. I challenged myself.
There you go.
I do abide. I did have a weird thought though, because in my research, Julianne Moore talks about this a lot in the special features, that a lot of the people that would walk up to her years after the film came out and really showed strong appreciation, it was the college fraternity guys.
Again, the douchiest people I've ever met.
And that's why I know that this is actually evidence for me, because you couldn't find somebody more opposite of that than me.
Yeah.
Like, I was not in a fraternity. Even if I wanted to be, they would not let me in.
Yeah.
Nothing sounds more disturbing than a kegger to me.
Yeah.
Just not my style. Those people, I had a couple of frat friends in college, but they were not, like, by and large, they hated me.
Yeah.
I was in a band. That was my whole persona. But the fact that I share this film with other people that are very different than me is very interesting to me, because like I'm not that person, but at the same time, like I have a strong reverence for this movie. So to me, that does speak to there is, whether I don't necessarily understand it, but there is a global, like a kind of a global. But then Boondock Saints is another example where I have zero reverence for that film. Is it good? I like Willem Dafoe.
Yeah.
There's some funny parts. I do not really hold it in high regard.
I mean, same. I probably I might watch it again because I probably saw it 7 years ago. I'd probably watch it again in another few years, but it's not one I'm like itching to get back to.
Yeah. And that movie was hyped, but I wouldn't say it's global.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say there's this wild kind of swinging door.
There's no Boondocks Fest.
Yeah, there's no Boondocks Fest. And,
Thank God.
That's
St. Patrick's Day, actually, is what the Boondocks Fest is.
And I did a piece of social content recently where I ranked like what I think are like the top 5 LA films. And what I meant by that was films where LA is a big character in the movie.
Yeah.
And I didn't put the Big Lebowski on that. Is it a great LA movie? Yes, but I think there's other movies where LA is more of a character. Thousands of comments. Why isn't Big Lebowski not on there? Like, to a lot of people.
Setting. It's not a character in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like it could have been, but yeah, I see. But there are just a lot of them.
I think it easily could have been done in New York, and I would have gotten the exact same thing out of it. Or
Really?
the same in Chicago or any major metropolitan city where you're going to have the rich people area just outside the main city, and then in the city, there's some nice parts, but it's also usually just a shitty place to be. Like, I don't know. I think the only thing that really lended LA to this movie is the fact that he's just smoking weed all the time. Like, that's kind of the one vibe that LA has that New York and Chicago aren't really known for.
I tend to disagree because I think the porn industry is in this movie is sort of a symbol. It sort of symbolizes like the film industry, the entertainment industry.
Yeah,
and it's an exaggerated version of that. I'm not saying that it's the same thing or anything, but I think there's a lot of that sort of coastal, like West Coast thing that is this movie. Like I do feel like LA, this movie is served by LA being. I don't think it could be really set anywhere else and have the same sort of weight to it.
maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it is, in a large degree, it is about like creates the creative industries, entertainment industry. I think it has that motif about it.
Yeah.
But like, I think Drive was on your list. Was it?
No, not on that one.
Okay.
It was close.
What was on your list?
I had Collateral.
Love Collateral.
Okay.
I had I made it a while ago.
LA Confidential.
I did not. That's a good one. I did not put it on my list, but this was just to generate discussion.
See, but like, this is the thing. There's so many LA.
They're
movies,
all in LA.
you know?
Yeah.
They're 90% of them are in LA.
I don't know. For me, Drive, I feel like made LA a character more than this. Just kind of, it had a reason to be set in LA, but I never felt like I was in the heart of LA while watching this movie.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of felt like a generic city, generic rich people suburb. Like,
well,
I don't know.
It is one of those places. I think it continues to be one of those places where people see it as a place where you can go and be the person that you want to be.
Yeah.
Rather than being the person you have to be.
As long as that person's broke.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, rather than being the person you have to be where you're from.
Yeah.
Right? Like wherever you're from, people know you, and that's kind of who you're going to be, even if you ascend or descend up the social strata. But you can go to LA, nobody knows you there.
Yeah.
But everybody knows someone like that, and you can kind of make your way there.
Yeah.
Right? That's the promise of LA. And I think all the characters that we're talking about in here do that in some kind of way. Like they represent one of these versions. Not all the versions, but like there's a really wide spectrum of people in this movie that we could I see ourselves being if we move to LA for some reason.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think about moving out there,
Yeah.
So even now, people.
A lot of people move back.
I sure do too. Yeah. We live in Nashville, so most of them are moving here.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that move to LA and do it very well on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nowhere else.
Yeah.
It looks like they're doing great.
Yeah.
But boy. So anyway, I just tie the bow. I put it abide, but I don't really understand it.
Yeah.
I don't understand how this film does transcend to the level it does. I know I share reverence with it with people I don't necessarily share life with.
Yeah.
And frat boys, whatever. But for that reason, I don't get it. But maybe that's why that is an abide. It's like there's something that speaks to a large swath of people that I don't necessarily understand, but it does.
I love that about this movie.
Yeah.
I just
too.
know I agree with the directors, therefore I'm right. So.
That's awesome. Well, it doesn't matter. We got one category left, and this is similar to something we did in Tenet. I have all the films kind of ranked here. I called this category Coinciding Greatness.
Love it.
Coinciding.
My man.
Fuck you.
I'm good at making these categories, right? Give it to me, baby. Give it to me. I've been doing this a while. This category, to finish this off, is about the fact that I don't see. Take the last category, that global, that a reach that's beyond borders. We don't get it, but the speak and the zeitgeist culturally that you feel and see does not match the numbers when you look at their entire catalog. And these are, I use Metascores for this one because I just trust Metascore more. There's a lot of movies. I'm going to go fast. Llewyn Davis, 93. No Country for Old Men, 93. Fargo, 85. Keep note of all the movies that I say before Big Lebowski.
Okay.
Fargo, 85. Blood Simple, 81. True Grit, 80. Buster Scruggs, 79. The Man Who Wasn't There, 73. Hail Caesar, 72. The Big Lebowski, 71. Then we'll go down Intolerable Cruelty, 71. Barton Fink, 69. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, 69. Raising Arizona,
What?
68.
Really?
Bro.
Yeah. Miller's Crossing, 66. Burn After Reading, 63. Lady Killers, 56. Could be lower. Hudsucker Proxy, 53.
I mean, I could see why critics wouldn't have liked Burn After Reading as much, but Raising Arizona that low?
Yeah.
Hail Caesar above Raising Arizona? Like, what the fuck?
This is just the Metascore scores. I mean,
interesting.
so that's the thing. I'm putting the data with the heart, the brain
Yeah.
and the heart here. Is this wrong? Is this a top 5? If this is like such a culturally relevant, important film, but most critics didn't even put it in that top 5, where does this sit in their catalog?
This is maybe the 6th Coen Brothers movie I've seen, and it's definitely number 6 for me. So yeah, I don't think it's as good as most people are gonna sit here and say it is. It's not bad. It's not. What's it score at? 72?
71.
Yeah, that's about where I would rank this, is like maybe a 7.17 out of 10. Like, it's just not, it doesn't hit for me. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
Man, I haven't seen all the Coen Brothers movies, but I've seen a lot of them. I feel like this is probably one of my top 5 Coen Brothers movies. I would say certainly one of my top 5.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I find it difficult to really speculate about people's tastes and stuff like that. I do kind of think like this is one of those movies that has really a lot of depth and a lot of intellectual stimulus to it. And doing that as what is basically, like you said, Seth, a stoner comedy, I think that's a crazy achievement, dude. Like, we think of stoner comedies, we think of stuff like Half Baked or Pineapple Express and stuff like that. Like, those movies aren't trying to do what this movie does.
No.
But this movie is, I think in spite of themselves, the Coen Brothers have to address massive philosophical ideas.
Yeah.
And they just happen to do it with this movie. I think that's what's so fucking cool about it too. And so I don't know, like, I don't really think of top 5s, honestly. I don't have like top 5 lists or things like that. But maybe I should. I don't know.
I have a top 5 family members list.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it starts at 10.
Oh,
So,
but yeah, if I were to do it, like, I think, No Country is definitely in there. I don't know. Yeah, I think this is probably a top 5 Coen Brothers movie for me, and certainly in one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite movies. So
I like lists. Like, they're fun for me. And for me, I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm in the podcasting game, but I just love keeping score of, like, going, because I'm getting an education. Every time we cover a movie, I'm like, I feel like I'm receiving a degree in the movie because I'm doing all this research.
Yeah.
So it is fun for me. And every time I do a podcast, I have to go back to my top 50 because it's changed a ton, because I dive into a movie maybe I wasn't as familiar with, and I'll move something. Like, that's happened. I've covered movies that I didn't really know a lot about before, and because we covered them, like, damn, like, I have a lot of respect for that movie. Maybe it's recency bias too.
I think one of the things that also adds to this movie is the multi-viewing potential for it. Like, you get something new, and you really get something new every time you watch it. And you appreciate it more. Like, when a scene is coming, it's like, oh, I'm kind of amped up for the Jesus scene, or I'm kind of amped up for
Walter
like,
to yell.
for the marmot and the nihilist to drop it in the bath. Like,
I'll just have to take your word for it.
well, if you see it on TV somewhere, like, you're gonna kind of know where you're at in the movie, and I know what's coming up next. I think that's a big part of why I love this movie so much.
Yeah,
so.
Cool. I go abide here because I liked True Grit. I also liked the original, and I was shocked when they did it. It just felt so weird for them to do a remake.
It was a cool choice.
Yeah, it was a cool one. It was very unique for them, and it was
very much improved on the original.
Yeah,
I think they somehow handled Haley Steinfeld's character way better
They
than
did.
the OG one did. The
So
OG one
massive.
was just so annoying.
yeah.
Dude, she was so good in True Grit, man.
So good.
And John Wayne, I hate to say it, like I went back. I liked the original, really loved the remake, and then I went back and I was like, man, John Wayne all of a sudden just doesn't feel as good to me.
Yeah, because Jeff Bridges fucking killed that role.
Yeah, he did.
Sure did.
So, but I still am just like I'm thinking like that's funny that one's in the top 5 in this original, so-called masterpiece. I say so-called because that's what we're referring to it as. But I definitely put it up there. One thing, I'm looking at this list and I'm thinking like, what's the uniqueness here? I think Coen Brother movies, by and large, so many of their movies are not affected by technology.
Mhm.
They still do film.
Yeah.
They, by and large, don't have movies don't have iPhones. Like they really haven't had a movie where technology. I think Burn After Reading has like cell phones in it.
Yeah.
But they like to leave that stuff out.
Yeah.
And almost every one of these movies, aside from True Grit, because that's definitely a period piece,
Yeah.
could happen in any century, like after 1940.
Yeah.
It just feels like all these stories could change decades.
Mhm.
Like the character. Like I just feel like
I mean, I would have thought that if they hadn't literally said at the beginning that it was in 1991, I would have thought this would have been in the 70s.
it feels there's a weird uncontained timelessness
Yeah.
to the characters they make. And yeah, I look at this list, I say it has to be, for me personally, top 5.
Yeah.
It is funny though. A Brother Were Out There was another one that was culturally huge.
Yeah.
It was like the most selling soundtrack of all time at the time.
Soundtrack's incredible. The first time I saw that movie, I didn't like it at all.
Yeah.
I didn't get it. Like, I
was the opposite. I loved it.
I watched. I think I walked out at the end of it. It just was like, oh god, this is
Yeah.
just. I didn't. But like, watching it again, I was just like, well, that was silly.
Yeah.
Maybe I was dealing with some personal problems or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Man, but
I
like,
literally have a tin of Dapper Dan pomade in my
That's
room.
awesome.
that's awesome. Yeah.
I respect it more now, but what's funny is I was Seth to this, what you are to the Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
That was me to Oh Brother Were Out There at first.
Same.
Yeah.
I definitely still put it middle pack for them, but it's
Yeah.
increased. It didn't have the same emotional weightiness that, like, I don't know why, but every time I watch this and Sam Elliott says like he's out there doing it on behalf of all of us sinners. What is the quote? Why do I just get emotional? Like for some
'Cause
reason,
it's Sam fucking Elliott.
that ending monologue really gets to me. He's
Yeah.
like, I'm glad he's out there doing, God, taking her easy for all us sinners.
Yeah.
I just get a little like, yeah.
Well, there's not much difference if you look at the portraits of Jesus. Like that we see in the iconography
Yeah.
across the world. Like he looks like that Jesus, but with some sunglasses on and a robe on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like that's pretty heavy stuff, man.
Yeah. And it's said in kind of a light way, but that goes back to the Wes Anderson thing I said earlier, the Coens, like they are able to wrap up impactful, dark, or sadness, but they can wrap it up in this boisterous wrapper
Yeah.
and deliver it.
Yeah.
He is an ideal version of some kind of life that a lot of people want to live.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like he's not wealthy or anything, but he's got all the time that he wants
Yeah.
to do whatever
Mhm.
he wants to do.
Like his career path. He was part of that protester group, and then he was a roadie, and
Yeah.
now he's unemployed. Like,
I'm unemployed.
Are you employed?
pretty nice arc.
Yeah. So like, you look at that resume, maybe not the most impressive, I guess, but we watch the movie and a lot of people resonate with that life, man.
Yeah.
Just getting new adventures, driving around, listening to Creedence,
I'll just watch True Grit for the 20th time.
Okay. Okay. Or what about No Country, man? Ooh.
That's one that I've only seen one time. It was very heavy and I loved it.
Mhm.
But it's also one of those that it's like I can only watch that every now and then.
That movie
And
changed
I've got to
me.
be in the mood to watch that movie. But actually, this is something when we eventually do our top 50 discussion. My friend and I were talking about this. To me, rewatchability plays into how I rank a film in two different ways. Because sometimes there's a movie like Interstellar that I can, or Lord of the Rings, where I can just rewatch it at the drop of a hat. Anytime someone's like, let's watch it, I'm like, let's do it. Then you have the opposite movie where it's so good that I can't rewatch it as often as I can with other ones because I never want it to feel familiar.
Yeah.
I always want to go back into so for No Country for Old Men, that's one of those where it's like on the rare occasion I do feel in the mood to watch that movie, I want to go into it still being as unfamiliar as I was the first time I watched it.
Saving Private Ryan is like that for me.
Yeah.
It's one of
Yeah,
those.
that's Magnolia for me.
Yeah, Magnolia. I was thinking Magnolia too.
Yeah.
It's just so heavy, but it's so perfect.
Like I could watch clips of it. Like sometimes clips will come up on the internet or something, and maybe watch little segments of it. But like actually sitting down to watch a movie like that is kind of a task for me.
Exactly.
I love that. That's really that's actually extremely profound because it does play in because rewatchability is this weird. It's kind of like replayability with games. Like, whoa, is it replayable? It's like, well, did you enjoy it the first time?
Yeah.
But with movies, you know, it depends on the emotional impact. Like,
Yeah.
I've never watched a Von Trier film twice.
No way.
Oh,
I've also not watched all of them. I've never completed some of them.
Yeah.
Like I will never go back and watch Antichrist again. But not because I thought it was so good.
I won't even watch it the first time.
It
That's
ruined.
what I'm just avoiding.
It just gave me the worst feelings. So yeah, it's an interesting.
But I've watched Nymphomaniac multiple times. I've watched Melancholia multiple times. I do need to watch The House That Jack Built again, and I do need to watch Dogville again. Dogville was so good.
Dude, Dogville's incredible.
It's insane.
Yeah, some of his older stuff isn't as adversarial. I would say. Like the one with Bjork. What's that one?
Oh,
I know
Breaking the
what you're
Waves.
talking about. Yeah.
Yeah,
Breaking
Dancer in the
Waves.
Dark.
Dancer in the Dark.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah.
Maybe it was Breaking the Waves. Oh, anyway.
Sorry, Bjork.
Yeah, sorry. Keep singing.
Sure,
You're doing
she's-
great.
Yeah.
Iceland's fun. Well, 7-0, and you know this. You know this doesn't
With protest.
with
FYI.
protest. It doesn't step outside of the cultural norm, but I did appreciate everything you said. I think when you have something that's so highly regarded in the culture, it just opens it up to more, you know, speculation.
Yeah.
And I think that's good. And you know, we just got done talking about Tenet, which is ironic because it's his lowest rated film, but we found so much goodness in it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting when you look at cultural narratives and then you kind of, as the individual, drill down as a film lover and find those things. So I totally appreciate it. And you still dressed up, even though you didn't love
did.
it. Look
I
at
did.
you. But thank you for hanging out with us. We were abiding, and you're out of your element, Movie Wars fans. We love you. I'm Kyle.
I'm Seth.
I'm JR.
Love y'all.
Movie Wars.